Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Pugyo men, everybody out there, today we're going to meet a professional, polite pirate, an RPGer, a writer, author, and generally nice guy who has a beard that I'm super envious of. Everybody, it's Mr. B to the O to the B. Bob, how you doing? Say hi
Hey
to the
there. Thank you for the introduction. Nice to meet you today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I even got my tri-thorn hat. Is it, how does it go? Tricorn?
Point first. You had it right. You had it right. If we're wearing a trichlor.
All right. I think it's very good. But uh sorry, R. How do you do that? My favorite letter of the alphabet. R. That
Yeah,
that
now
smile,
don't you
big
know?
smile to people. Tell us about some of your artistic endeavors, and you survived Lankmar and helped. I love that whole series, and I could tell from the bookshelves in the background that's not a fake background, or is it? Everything? I'm jealous.
Let's see where to start. Well, I guess I got my start as a live performer working the Renaissance Fair circuit in the U.S., appearing as a swordsman, fire breather, and pirate.
Ta-da! Oh, the fire breather. Can smell it from here. No.
Well,
Excellent.
when the winds shift, you certainly would, because the smell of burned hair will stick with you.
Oh
Um,
yes, I see.
Matter of fact, that picture was taken. God, that picture was 1990. I'm going to say 1993 at the Ohio Renaissance Festival.
Oh, back in the day, back in the day. But I think it's
Look. My hair wasn't gray.
uh,
So that's where I got my start. Traveling the country doing those things. When I moved to Las Vegas, we formed a musical pirate group called Marooned, the singing pirates from the desert.
oh, excellent. Vegas. You know, my wife out of nowhere wanted to go to Vegas for Christmas, and she's never been there, so we're gonna go there. So it's more family friendly now. We can bring in the kids and stuff
Well, so it was actually more family friendly
back
when I
then.
moved there than it is
Yeah.
today.
I
While
I
there
heard
still
it
is
swung
things
back.
for
Yeah.
families to do, the amusement parks have kind of closed and things of that nature.
Right. And they
Um,
had the Star Trek experience. I
oh,
was like, I'm going there. And they're like, oh, it closed 10 years ago.
as a matter of fact, the Star Trek experience was built by Landmark Entertainment. They're the same people that were responsible for Caesar's Magical Empire at Caesar's Palace,
Oh,
where I used to
is
perform.
Caesar still around?
Caesar's Palace itself is, but the Magical Empire sadly is not.
Uh,
It
uh, uh,
closed
but in the 90s, I did see a pirate ship performance.
at the Treasure Island.
I guess
Yes,
that was Treasure Island.
it was at Treasure Island. I performed like 4,500 shows at Caesar's Palace, the Magical Empire.
Wow. I used
Yeah,
to, I was in China for 30 years. I had the longest running show, but I would do 3 shows a day at the most.
my
But,
show was a lot shorter, so I was doing
oh,
like 10 to 12 shows a day.
it, interesting. Yeah, but I'm sure but that time I guess no cell phones yet. So not as many sort of videos and stuff.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, my show closed at Caesars before the Magical Empire did, so I went back on closing night and with a disposable camera and took a bunch of pictures backstage where the hallway
Uh,
that I used to pass through was signed by
oh,
pretty
all
much
the
every magician
performers.
that had come through.
Wow, that's exciting. Yeah, the backstage and Renaissance fairs. I only got to go to work sort of at one, and the big thing was after hours. Just it got crazier. Well, this was in
Oh,
Maryland,
oh yes,
it
yes.
was it was.
There are stories still told that I cannot share here about Bristol's Kids Kingdom After Dark back in
Oh,
'92.
the
Yeah,
90s.
after hours at Renaissance fairs can get
It's
interesting.
something to aspire to. But a pirate, being a pirate. And when you're out there, what was the show? How would you describe the show? Marooned, was that it?
Yeah, well, so we traveled for a while with Marooned. We were an a cappella pirate group singing sea shanties and Irish traditional music. And let's see, I mean, gosh, we appeared everywhere from Florida to California. We did appearances for the A&E network
Oh,
and for Real Networks, if anybody remembers, like Real Audio and them.
yeah, the real, yeah. And you say you would do like pirate songs or your own ditties?
Yes,
What was some?
we did do some original pieces as well. We released 5 albums over the span. We started in '96. Our last performances
So
were
you
right
got
before COVID.
actual vinyl or CD?
No, we released on CD. We released on
Oh,
CD. We never did. Yeah,
the vinyl.
vinyl's a lot to carry around to a
I
show in
agree.
the
I
middle of the
agree.
woods, right?
Yeah. Yeah, in the middle of the woods. But luckily, yeah, because my band came out like 89. We were like vinyl or this new thing, but we went the new way. But it's coming back.
Well,
It's
it
like,
is, and there are friends of mine that are out there still performing, and anytime they're releasing on vinyl, I always have to get the vinyl, right? But
right. But
I don't envy
is it,
musical acts today.
is this, I gotta turn my thing off. You can see what this is. I'm gonna do this now. The thing is blocking it.
Yeah,
It's
the
a,
the virtual background is catching
yeah.
it.
All right, here we go. What is this?
Oh my God, an 8 track.
I am, ooh, this is old school.
That is old school. That is wow. Nah, these days it's so hard though because these acts that are working small shows and fairs and festivals, 9 times out of 10 the people aren't interested in buying physical media anymore. So it gets really
That's
tough.
good. That's right. Yeah, yeah,
I guess we called our touring quits at just the right time.
yeah. Excellent. But even more than I like performing, actually, I believe D&D is a performance art, but I've been D&Ding since I was 11 years old. Uh, and you've been into it for, I guess, as long, it seems.
Yes, I started playing back when gaming books were small and beige and
That's
roamed
right.
roamed the
Chainmail,
lands
right.
freely.
Chainmail and then the
Yeah,
basic sets. All this.
I started the OD&D books were still out, and the Holmes Basic set had just come out at that time. So we were kind of playing a combination of the two, and then all of the sudden, First Ed was coming out. We were young; we just sort of blended everything together as we went. But yeah, so
Was Rule
I've been playing for
Zero.
a long time.
Yeah, yeah. But now you're doing writing for it.
Yes, so
That's so
I am
exciting.
it is absolutely amazing. I think like grade school me is still just screaming and jumping up and down with
That
joy.
is awesome.
It is it is absolutely amazing how fortunate I've been as a gamer to now be to write material, third party material for fifth edition like Castle in the Sky there. And then also to have worked on so many wonderful projects with Goodman Games. I've worked on DCC Dying Earth, DCC Lankmar. I worked on some things for the America, several
And was it
Lankmar adventures, a horror adventure, and most recently I've been doing conversions of older material. And
right? It's a fifth. There's a lot of people are doing things like that,
and
right?
yeah,
It's a
and
fifth,
so
and you just
I wrapped up the conversion for Caverns of Thracia by Janelle Jaquez. I also had done the Dark Tower conversion, but Caverns of Thracia has been a really fantastic experience for me. And so now I'm getting to write expansion material building off on that world. And it's been really exciting. We're in the second golden age of gaming, right?
technical
Anybody
age.
with a
I
good
agree.
idea can get stuff out there.
That's right. And now I've done this Oculus stuff where you can play D&D over the VR,
Oh
and
God.
it looks it looks like you're sitting on the table with my friends. One's in Texas, one's in Asia, and you move. You can even have little miniatures. You move the miniatures, or roll the dice. That is the next step, I think, because we all have our good games, but then we move away, and Zoom or whatever is okay. But if they, I mean, for me, and I hope that they find people like you, creative writers that put it in, and then you could tell it what to do, and it'll do it itself almost. So I think it's a new level is coming up.
Yeah, I have to say that using VR sounds interesting. I use Zoom for gaming quite a bit. I've got a regular playtest group. As a matter of fact, we meet tonight in about 3.5 hours.
Excellent. I
Uh,
was going to ask you about that. Yeah, you ever need an extra play tester, you let me know. That kind of
uh,
stuff.
I will. I will. I'll probably be running some new materials in November for Planet of the Cyclops Con, and every once in a while, other things come up. Um, I also try to run stuff. There's a great free monthly gaming convention online called TTRPG Pickup Con, and I
Wow.
tend to run playtest materials there too. One, the person behind it is a friend of mine, but two, it's a free event, right? I mean, who doesn't want to support a free event? So I tend to run things there.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah. The
It's
last
all about
time
supporting the community.
that's and this community, I think, they're solid folks, and they're into helping other people, which is
You
uh
you aren't kidding. I've got a perfect example for you. So I guess it was back in June of 2022. I met someone online from Uganda, and of course, initially, right, you meet someone from an African nation
the
online.
prince.
You're
That's right.
you're kind of wondering, right? And that was not the case at all. I met Ashraf Braden, and since I've come to know him, he's begun writing materials for DC CRPG based on Ugandan folklore
Wow, that's
and urban
excellent.
legend. And so things are not good in Uganda, where a
Right.
street sweeper can make like $1 a day, and a trained laborer can make maybe $2 or $3 a day. And so he'd been when he does everything, he writes out longhand, he edits it longhand, and then he types it in with his using his phone. He types it into a doc to send to me via WhatsApp. And then we've done a series of like print and fold e-zines for drive through that are like $1, and then we've collected and expanded on those for zines. And he earlier this year, he's like, okay, hold off on any payments to me. I want to save up and get a laptop. And it's been going kind of slow just because of how busy I've been, and he's working 6 to 7 days a week. And so I reached out to the community. I explained the situation. I was like, maybe could we raise like maybe $500 for this guy?
Yeah. It would mean a
And
lot to you.
so that took less than an hour, and I shut the fundraising down after $1,000 because there's other people out there in need, especially right now. But the community just immediately came together. They're like, he's one of us. He's trying to create stuff. We
That's
like his
right.
stuff. Let's help him out.
Yeah, yeah. And I used to have a goal to try to uh, game in every state and then as many countries that I can.
Oh
Luckily,
wow.
I went and taught English around the country, and I've been to like 11 countries, and I found they people love gaming all over the place. Like they each have their own separate ones. Like Japan, can you guess what they love the most? Which role
I
playing
think
game?
Call of Cthulhu is the number
Call
one
of
selling
Cthulhu, you
game there.
got it. I was like, whoa, that for me, that was a big one. That was a big one. But like France and Germany, they like the hardcore like Roman battle kind of stuff. Uh and then in China, they like Chinese stuff. In China, they do lots of luckily I speak Chinese, my wife's Chinese. I've run games in Chinese, and bilingual games are fun too,
Oh,
but they
neat.
love to have the uh old history, the Three Kingdoms kind of stuff. Right now, there's a video game about the Monkey King, Son Wukong.
Oh
It's
yes,
really,
I've heard about this.
yeah, and it's getting the whole like so many more people into role playing. And then there's of course live action role play connected with it. But do you have any other connections with other countries or other places?
I myself have not gamed in any other countries. I mean, I own RPGs in other languages that I don't read, because as a collector, I've picked them up over the years. But I would say that being able to game online, I've had people at my online table from Germany, from Serbia. I remember watching the sunrise behind a player in Serbia while we were playing one evening.
Yeah,
Uh,
I actually had a Serbian friend too that
and
did
it's
some
it's it's
gaming.
fantastic, right? Because when when you're playing any specific system, whether it's Call of Cthulhu or D&D or Dungeon Crawl Classics, when you're meeting someone from another country, especially if you're in North America and they're in Asia or in Europe, they start bringing bits of their
Their
culture, and
culture,
it's
yeah,
all new and it's all fresh to you, and that's
fresh and
rather exciting.
exciting.
I think
Yeah,
I think there's a Western version of DCC called Weird Frontiers, and it's really big in like the UK, and I think it's because the setting is not mythical Germany with a British overlay, which is what most
most
fantasy games in America
that's
are,
right.
right?
That's
And so it's huge and it's different, and well, like with Ashraf, as he's been reading the DCC book, we started discussing an adventure based on some royal tombs that are in Uganda. As a matter of fact, I think next weekend he's looking at going and taking photos of the area so we can get some more ideas put together, and just all of this amazing content that is so new and so different, because I've never been exposed to anything like it.
right. Uh, I've checked out groups online, and the Filipino just players. They're there's something special about them. The ones I played with them in China. Interestingly, most of their jobs were uh, club singers in cover bands.
Oh wow.
So many of them, but then their hobbies were uh, role playing games or board games like Settlers of Catan. They like that kind of stuff as well. But I just didn't think it was. I was like pleasantly surprised at how many the Filipino people were into it.
Well, Filipino culture has especially their popular culture, has wonderful examples of horror and fantasy. There's some great movies out there. I think one of them is like Legend of the Demon Sword or the Demon Sword. I mean, their stuff is delightfully dark and very different from what you
Yeah,
would find here in the U.S.
uh,
And they love their stuff, and I think every time I've been exposed to those sorts of materials, I've loved them as well. I see it, right. It's so different, and when you embrace it, you're like, wow, I've really been missing this stuff.
yeah. There's some. That's I could talk about this for a long time, but I definitely want to uh, learn more about these different cultures. And if your friend would like to be interviewed, let me know. Just to
Oh,
get his
I
work
will. I'll certainly bring it up to him.
in Uganda.
Especially once he's got the laptop. He's done two pre-recorded interviews for a podcast in the DCC community. The time difference can make things very difficult because I'm in the Eastern time zone. He's like 8 hours ahead of me. But
Right.
he is such a wonderful guy, and discovering that the things that he is writing are being read by people in the UK and Germany and in the United States. He's so overwhelmed and grateful by the reception he's gotten. And that gets back to, right, the second golden age. If you've got a good idea, you can get it out there in front of other people that might want to use it at their table. Now, granted, the
Right.
downside is if you've got bad ideas, you can get those out too. But
Yeah,
but I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches.
I totally agree. Now I want to show you something you've never seen before.
All
Maybe.
right.
I don't know. Here we go. Have you ever seen a seven-sided die?
Why? Yes, I have. Hey, hang
Oh,
on.
it's
Have I
hard
seen
to.
this?
I can't get you. Oh, he's got one.
Hang
Oh
on.
no.
Oh well, let's see.
Trying to surprise you.
You mean like this? Here is my 7-sided die that I've got here right on my desk.
He's got it in his head. All right. That's pretty awesome.
Well, because since I write for DCC RPG, the system uses a dice chain. So everyone's kind of familiar with +1 to hit, +2, -1, -2. But also in DCC, you can say, okay, we'll go up or down a die. So we use a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 20, 24, 30, and percentile. And I've got all of those right here.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I had mine made with a 3D printer because I was running this game of kobolds, and I said, all right, the kobolds they can count up to 7 probably. That's as high as they can count. So I sort of made everything with this 7.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I get my dice from Impact Miniatures. Tom over at Impact. He actually made sets that have like all of the numbers from 3 through 20 and all of the even numbers through 30. So somewhere around the house, I've got like a D9 and a D13 and a D22.
That's true. You probably know this company. I used to work back in the 80s. I worked for the Lipmans, who had the Armory game store.
Oh my goodness.
Do you know any of those?
I remember Armory quite well.
Yes, they did paint. I mean, I still had the smell. I could remember the smell of the paint, but they made paint, dice, and miniatures, and they sold games. They were just like the hub of the whole.
Oh my God, yes. No, it would have been my second Gen Con, which would have been the first year in Milwaukee. I want to say like maybe summer of 84. I bought my first true set of dice. I was still just using my Holmes basic dice and whatever else had come in games. And I bought a metal coated set of Armory dice. Ooh. The first set of dice I'd ever bought. Armory had all sorts of great stuff. I mean, graph paper, hex paper, paints.
That's right.
Any supply you could need.
They would come and teach people how to play games. We would play Avalon Hill games. We would run. This one guy, he was so into. We would run the One Ring games. That was fun. But one time we ran this sea battle. It was like a World War II game, and a guy who was there, who was at the actual battle, was like, you got to move over here. It was here. And he was at the battle. It was so.
Oh my God! Right?
Yeah, because the owner, Mr. Lippman, he was on D-Day. He was there on D-Day. He took the beast and he got a Purple Heart from that day. But he would actually, buy games that had battles that him and his mates were in. It was an interesting mix because those military guys, especially at that time, most of them were, very serious about that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, no, well, and opportunities like that, are really kind of fading away, right?
Fading now.
There's not many World War II veterans showing up at wargaming conventions anymore.
But the 80s is further away from us now than the 80s was to World War II, which is kind of crazy to think.
Oh man.
All right, Bob. How can people get to know more about you and your products and your wonderful stuff?
You can in quite a few ways, actually. The majority of my materials are either available at the Goodman Games online store, which is goodman-games.com. They're the largest of the companies that I write for. I have you can look me up on Patreon. I've got a Patreon where I am converting the Dictionnaire Infernal, which is an 18th century book on demonology. I'm converting it to translated English and providing gameable DCC content for that. And then also I'm part of the Sanctum Secorum podcast at sanctum.media. And we read and discuss Appendix N books and talk about ways to use those ideas at your gaming table.
All right, let's roll our D7s to see.
All right, let me get mine out here.
I got a 7. 7.
I got a 1.
You got the whole spectrum. I guess that's how many cobalts we'll have to fend off. All right, my friend. So wonderful to talk to you. And please do put me in touch with your Ugandan friend.
Yes, I certainly will.
All right, everybody. 下次我们看再见，好不好？说 Bob，拜拜，Bob。